From 1880 to 1900, America's cities and overall population grew tremendously due to immigration from Europe and many other countries. Large groups of people came to America and provided a labor force which would begin to fill the demands that large new industries were creating for workers due to the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution opened up new fields of work in many different areas. The North created new manufacturing facilities that made everything from steam locomotives to electric light bulbs. The Midwest saw a need for farm machinery production, and the Northwest used workers for logging operations and timber. Large ports in the South and North needed ship fitters and machinists, and as the new industries began to create new jobs, workers were needed in ever-increasing numbers.
Following this mass boom in immigration, urbanism, and industrialism during the last 3 decades of the 19th century, America saw an economic depression. Since urbanization and industrialism as a way of life were relatively new, little had been done to regulate the ever-growing industries such as the railroads and the banks. Because of this, it was easy for large industries to exploit workers, often putting them into inhumane conditions and enacting pay cuts until industry workers could no longer afford to feed their families. Eventually, this led to the Great Railroad Strike of 1877, which gave many workers the realization that they were more powerful in numbers rather than alone, and led to a huge increase in workers joining labor unions. This included the Knights of Labor, who worked to bridge the gaps between ethnicity, gender, and race in organized labor, and advocated for reform of ownership of the railroads, income taxes, and abolition of child labor. In addition to the Knights of Labor was the American Federation of Labor, founded by Samuel Gompers in 1886. The methods of the AFL were much different than the Knights, and focused on organizing skilled workers and using strikes to gain their immediate objectives. Eventually, Gompers' ideology of unionism brought down the Knights of Labor.
As industrialism matured, labor reform lost its meaning, resulting in the failure of the Knights of Labor. The AFL represented all workers. The American Federation of Labor, by 1892, included over 40 unions, most of them with about 1,000 members. The carpenters, typographers, cigar makers, iron and steel workers, and iron